America was once the world's breadbasket, but today on some of the country's most famous wheat fields, it's not just crops that are burning, it's livelihoods. Farmers are setting fire to their own fields because prices are crashing, labor is scarce, and harvesting costs more than it brings in. Just a few hundred kilometers further north, the picture is completely different. In Canada, trucks full of wheat are rolling towards silos, train stations, and ports. New contracts with Europe and Asia are bringing in billions, while American warehouses sit idle and customers vanish. How was Canada able to turn America's crisis into a historic advantage? And what happens if American wheat soon disappears, even from American supermarkets? Today, we are showcasing four pairs of regions that reveal a dramatic shift. On one side, fields are burning. On the other, a new wheat empire is emerging. Stay tuned, because in the end, it is about a crucial question. Who will control the world's bread in the future? One, Kansas and Saskatchewan. For decades, Kansas was considered the heart of American wheat production. As recently as 2020, about 18% of all U.S. wheat production came from this state. But by 2025, this symbol of abundance has become a scene of desperation. The price of wheat dropped below $5 per bushel in some places, falling below the cost of harvesting. Buyers disappeared, cooperatives shut down, and many fields lacked the necessary labor. Nearly 40% of seasonal workers in Kansas are immigrants. Following tightened controls, many farms were suddenly left without enough people to bring in the ripe wheat. For some farmers, only one bitter choice remained. They burned their unsold crops just to receive a small insurance payout. Direct losses are already reported to have reached $1.3 billion. But even heavier is the fear that the next generation will give up on family farms for good. While smoke rises over Kansas, Saskatchewan is experiencing a historic boom. In April 2025 alone, the Canadian province exported more than 2.1 million tons of wheat. For the second quarter, revenues of nearly 680 million Canadian dollars were expected, about 23% more than the previous year. Saskatchewan invested early in legal labor programs, modern seed research, and climate-resilient wheat varieties. Kansas still has fertile land, but Saskatchewan has something that is becoming increasingly valuable: labor, technology, reliable supply chains, and customers who are willing to wait. While American wheat burns, Canadian wheat is already heading to the ports of Europe and Asia. To Washington and Ontario. Washington was once the gateway for American wheat to the world. Through the ports of Seattle and Tacoma, millions of tons of grain were shipped to Asia every year. But in 2025, that gateway is starting to close. Wheat export volumes fell by more than 32%. This isn't because of a lack of global demand, but because the United States can no longer guarantee a stable supply. When less is harvested in the fields, warehouses sit still, and trains receive no cargo, the port cranes eventually stop moving too. While Washington waits for missing freight, Ontario is expanding its position step by step. Since 2023, the Canadian province has invested over 700 million Canadian dollars in modern ports, sorting facilities, and new transport links. Through Hamilton, Oshawa, and Thunder Bay, wheat reaches the St. Lawrence River directly, and from there, travels to Europe and Asia. Ontario isn't just selling grain. Modern systems control moisture, quality, and storage to ensure every shipment meets the expectations of international customers. Japanese and European companies are signing new contracts because Canada offers something that has become more valuable than a low price: reliability. Washington still has large ports and a long history of exports, but history alone doesn't fill ships. While American terminals wait for goods, Canadian freighters are already leaving port. Today, the battle for the global market isn't just decided in the fields, but where the goods reach the customer on time. 3. North Dakota and Alberta. In North Dakota, a bitter paradox is emerging. Millions of bushels of wheat are sitting in silos, while at the same time the prices for flour and bread are rising in supermarkets. The wheat is there, but it isn't moving. Buyers are missing, transport is stalled, and there's a labor shortage in warehouses and mills. While the selling price fell to about $5.50 per bushel, the costs for fertilizer, fuel, insurance, and wages exploded. Many farmers are now losing up to $60 per acre. Some are holding back their harvest, hoping for better prices. But the market isn't recovering, while loans, taxes, and bills arrive right on schedule. This creates the absurd situation where American wheat is rotting in full warehouses, while more and more bags of flour labeled "Product of Canada" are appearing in American stores. Alberta has built exactly what North Dakota is missing, a functioning chain from the field to the port. Thanks to its own rail connections and strategic logistics centers, wheat can be transported onward in less than 48 hours. At the same time, a stable workforce and consistently high quality ensure that Alberta is no longer just seen as a backup supplier. North Dakota has wheat, but Alberta has movement. And on the global market, the winner isn't the one who fills the largest warehouses, but the one who can deliver reliably and on time. 4. Montana and Manitoba. Montana was once one of America's great wheat regions. But in 2025, more and more fields were left unplanted, even though the land is fertile and the farmer's experience is undisputed. The reason isn't a lack of skill, but a system that is breaking down under rising costs, weak prices, and outdated infrastructure. Incomes for many farms have fallen by more than 35% within 2 years. Some farmers left their crops standing, others burned them because even a small insurance payout seemed more certain than another loss-making sale. Even more painful is the loss of customers. While Montana struggles with full silos, high transport costs, and a lack of support, international buyers are signing new contracts on the other side of the border. Manitoba has turned its cold climate into an advantage. The province invested in hardy wheat varieties with stable quality that are particularly in demand for high-end baked goods in Europe, Japan, and South Korea. At the same time, the Port of Churchill was revitalized and better connected to the growing regions. This allows wheat to reach the Atlantic faster, while companies in Winnipeg expand their processing and export capacity. Montana has land, tradition, and experienced farmers. Manitoba has, in addition, a clear direction, modern logistics, and customers who plan for the long term. That is exactly where the key difference lies. In today's global market, it's no longer enough just to grow good wheat. You also have to be able to sell it reliably and deliver it on time. While Montana fights for the trust of its buyers, Manitoba has already won that trust. From Kansas to Montana, the same alarming pattern is emerging. America's farmers are losing not only their harvests, but also their workers, buyers, transport routes, and increasingly, their faith in the future. Fields are burning, silos stay full, and ports wait for grain that no longer arrives. What was once the backbone of American agriculture is falling apart piece by piece. Canada is consistently filling this gap. Saskatchewan combines modern research with a stable workforce. Alberta gets wheat to the port faster. Ontario is expanding its trade routes, and Manitoba is winning long-term customers in Europe and Asia. With every new contract, another piece of the wheat market shifts north. The biggest threat to the U.S. isn't just a bad harvest, it's the loss of trust. Once bakeries, supermarkets, and international buyers have switched their supply chains, they won't automatically come back. Is this just a temporary crisis, or are we seeing the beginning of a new order where Canada becomes North America's most important breadbasket? Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any important developments regarding agriculture, food prices, and global supply.